Did I witness the last San Diego loss of the season? So far, I have.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. And right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, but the best way to get a hold of me is right here on YouTube. You can follow us there. I'm going to be here at the least 5 days a week, giving you a brand new show. By the way, sorry there was a little technical difficulty for the show that I dropped on Sunday. Apparently, the ending got chopped off at one point. I do not know why. It got fixed, but thanks for those of you who pointed that out to me. And thanks for those of you who are listening in on the show, including, wrong one, the Magnet C. I don't know what that name means. Been listening since the Sully Baseball podcast days. Finally subscribed to the YouTube channel. He wrote a couple other really nice things, but I didn't want to be that self-congratulatory. But yeah, I've been doing this since 2012. I did the Sully Baseball Daily podcast 7 days a week, 365 days a year, unless there's a leap year. Then I did another one between the end of 2012 and the beginning of the season in 2017. And then since 2019, I've been here on the Locked On Podcast Network. So been doing this a while. I like to think I know what I'm doing. One thing I do know is that I asked the question of when the Angels had their first ever Cy Young Award winner, what stadium did they call home? It was a little bit of a Russian doll of a question. There was a lot of different layers to that question. First, you had to know who won the Cy Young Award, what year they did it, and where they called their home park. And a couple of people got it right. The shortest answer we got was from Ben Ben Trend Spelling 6110. Don't know what that means. But if your name is Ben, hey, said, hi, Sully, love the podcast. Dean Chance in Dodger Stadium is my trivia answer. He's an everyday Sully listener, and let's go A's. Yes, you're technically right. A couple of you wrote some more. Useless Trucker basically wrote a novel pointing out that Dean Chance won the American League Cy Young Award in 1964. And after the Angels played their first season in Los Angeles Wrigley Field, and then they moved to Dodger Stadium. And yes, they played in Dodger Stadium from 1962 to 1965. But as Jonathan Shencup pointed out, when the Angels played there, they called it Chavez Ravine. Welcome to Chavez Ravine, home of the Los Angeles Angels. And at one point, they changed it into California Angels because they didn't want to promote the Dodgers during an Angels game. Step one in not promoting the Dodgers during an Angel game, don't play in Dodger Stadium. But what they were doing is Gene Autry, the singing cowboy, was the owner of the Angels. And interestingly, Charlie Finley, who went on to move the A's from Kansas City to Oakland, was an absolute lunatic, but put together one of the great dynasties in the history of sport, which were the Oakland A's of the mid 1970s, was trying to get the Los Angeles franchise, American League franchise. That's one of those what ifs. If Charlie Finley had the Angels, and of course, if he's in Los Angeles, he's not looking to move to another market. He was always looking to move to another market, whether it was in Kansas City or Oakland. He would have stayed there. And Finley was insane. Finley was bananas. Finley apparently was a pretty rotten person and drove everyone crazy. But Finley knew what he was doing by putting a team together. He assembled that team with Reggie Jackson and Sal Bando and Catfish Hunter and Vita Blue and Joe Rudy and Raleigh Fingers and Blue Moon Odom and Phil Garner and Gene Tennis and Bert Campaneris and all those great teams that won 3 straight World Series titles and 5 straight trips to the postseason. If he was doing that in LA, who knows? Maybe something would have happened with the Angels, and maybe all that volatility would have been Los Angeles. I don't know, and neither do you. But the kindly singing cowboy Gene Autry ran the team, and he wanted to have the team in Anaheim. And so while they were building Anaheim Stadium, why was it never called Gene Autry Stadium? When they were building Anaheim Stadium, they played the interim years in Dodger Stadium. So that's correct. There you go. A lot of stuff to talk about. It was a really fun day of baseball, and some things that are kind of eye-opening here. But first and foremost, we're going to see who owned baseball for April 13th, 2025. Let's go through it right now. Garrett Crochet of the Red Sox came back to Chicago, and it was so windy. The game there at Wright Field was so crazily windy. You could see the uniforms were flapping in the wind. And I'm going to probably guess it wasn't a very pleasant day to be sitting in a ballpark all day. And Garrett Crochet came back and took a no-hitter into the eighth inning. He was dynamite. And he finished the game with one hit, one walk. The hit he allowed came around to score. So he was charged with one run over 7 1/3 innings. He wound up striking out 11. And the Red Sox held on for a 3-1 victory over the Chicago White Sox, salvaging a game. Give the White Sox some credit. They took 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox. But here's where you got to give Cora credit, and listen to me closely, managers. He let Crochet pitch until he let up a hit. And then once he let up a hit, he took him out because he's like, okay, time, the fun's over. There's no reason for you to throw a complete game, blah, blah, blah. And good for him. It's like, yeah, we're not gonna say, well, we didn't want him to do this or that. No, give him a chance to do it. And it didn't work. And there's not a Red Sox fan out there who said, what are you doing taking him out? This is not Grady Little. And so he wound up owning baseball there. However, Michael King of the Padres, we're going to talk about this very closely pretty soon. He did go the distance. He went all 9. He struck out 8 Colorado batters in a complete game shutout, 2-hit shutout. It was 6-0 for the Padres. We'll get to them in just a couple of minutes here. Pete Crow Armstrong had quite a day. He amassed 11 total bases. He homered twice and got a triple as the Cubs doubled up the Dodgers 4-2 and won that series. Hey, the Cubs, you're aware that the Cubs exist, right? They're a major league team. They play in Chicago. Maybe you found that out. But the Cubs are off to a solid start. I mean, they're in first place by 2 games. They're 11-7, which is all you can ask for in the first 18 games. And they have won series against both the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. Whenever you go and you see, okay, those are going to be 2 of the best teams in baseball, and you wind up winning those series, I don't care if it's April or September. That's important. You're winning games where most people are writing you off. And so good on the Cubs for doing that. And Ernie Clement went 4 for 5, got a double. He scored a couple runs, stole a base. And the Blue Jays came from behind and wound up beating the Orioles in extra innings. And with that, the Blue Jays are sitting on top of first place by themselves. Good, solid win for the Blue Jays, who, again, a lot of question marks about the Blue Jays going into this year and wondering what that was going to mean with the signing of, whether or not they were going to lose Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to free agency. Well, things are looking a little better, especially since the signing, since Vladdy signed to a long-term deal. And, they have gone, they won the series against Boston, and now they won the series. They took the 2 games from, they split the games. I'm sorry, they split the series with Baltimore, and now they're going to be playing Atlanta at home. Atlanta has been difficult to predict. They've been up and down. So they're the ones who own baseball. Now, half wobs I gave to William Contreras, who homered and singled, but the Brewers lost to Arizona. The Brewers, they're, again, if you're going to look at games that got away, they let up 5 runs in the 9th the other day, and they blew a solid Contreras performance. They're 8-8. it's still early to look at the standings, but you can't pile up those frustrating losses, especially in a division which is absolutely wide open. Tyler Glasnow pitched well through 6 good innings, struck out 7 Cubs, but the aforementioned Dodgers were doubled up by the Chicago 4-2. Ryan Mountcastle, easy for you to say, hit a home run, added a single, but the Orioles collapsed against Toronto 7-6. And Luis Severino held the Mets to 1 run over 5 2/3 innings, but the Sacramento A's were shut out 8-0. Another bad loss in Sacramento for the A's in front of not a full house. I'm not going to go into all of it now. A lot of people wrote comments about the Sacramento A's show. Mark Bennett wrote, that was a good show. Not that I was going to, but now I don't have to go. Not that I was going to go, but now I don't have to. I'm boycotting the A's unless they come back to Oakland by some miracle. Well, they're not coming back. That would be such a miracle. We'd have to immediately call the Pope and just say, hey, you won't believe what just happened. When we come back, we're going to talk about the best team in baseball, and they play in Southern California, and they are not called the Los Angeles Dodgers. Hey, it's almost time for the NBA playoffs, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you can get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes it so easy, whether I'm picking the Celtics to go far or diving into player props, from three-pointers to steals to assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet on your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Now, when I did the show in Sacramento, I saw the Padres lose a game. That's a rare event. That's a very rare event because the Padres are not losing much these days. They're 13. They played 16 games and they've won 13 of them. I witnessed one of those losses. The next day, the A's scored a run. So last Thursday, was it there? No, I was at game last Tuesday. And so on Wednesday afternoon, the A's scored a run, but they wound up losing the game to San Diego. And as of this recording, that was the last run that the Padres pitching gave up. I mean, look, I know they were playing the Rockies, okay? I understand. The Rockies they're the inverse of the Padres at this point. I get it. But do you know what? If you're a team that's eyeing a championship, and let's face it, the Padres are, then you have to beat up the bad teams. You're going to have to play good teams. You have to hold your own with the good teams and beat the snot out of the bad teams. Now, on Friday, Nick Pivetta was on the mound, and he was damn good. Remember, Nick Pivetta could have been signed by anybody, but he had the qualifying offer, which means you'd have to give up a draft pick. Nick Pivetta is a proven major league pitcher, but you'd have to give up a draft pick. I understand draft picks are valuable, but the Padres said, to hell with it. We're trying to win this year. And Pivetta, threw 7 innings, struck out 10, walked 1. It was a 10-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, and shutout. Matsui and Jacob pitched the final couple innings. Gavin Sheets got a couple of big hits, and of course Fernando Tatis Jr. got the home run, and there you go. They won that one 8-0. It was 0-0 going into the fifth, so it looked like for a while the Rockies were going to hold their own. The answer to that is no. So the next day was actually a really good game. It was a really good game, and I actually watched a big chunk of this. And Fernando Tatis Jr. led off the game with a home run, and Kyle Hart, I hope you put him on your fantasy team, didn't let up a hit in the first, the second, the third. He finally let up a hit in the fourth, didn't let up a hit in the fifth, and didn't let up a hit in the sixth. And then they brought in someone else because they said it's not a no-hitter, so let's keep going here. And then the bullpen did the rest of the job. So Kyle Hart wound up doing the job. He's been around the block. You may not know who he is, but he's a journeyman. He's 30 years old. He's 32 years old. He played 4 games with the Red Sox in the COVID year in 2020, and I have exactly 0 brain cells that remembers that Kyle Hart was there. So you've had 2 solid starts, and the bullpen looked really good. And so what happened today? I mentioned what happened today earlier. I hope you were paying attention. Complete game shutout by Michael King, who, by the way, was part of the trade when they sent Juan Soto packing to the Yankees. So look, I'm not saying the Yankees shouldn't have made that deal. It was a smart deal from the make. Led them directly to the World Series. But the Padres have a guy who is now, you can hand him the ball, and the possibility him going 9 is there. Struck out 8, let up 1 walk. Now he threw 110 pitches. But the Padres were cruising. They were up 4-0 in the first. And with that, Schilt basically said, hey, do you know what? Go 9. Give the bullpen a day off. And have that rush. Not all pitches are created equally. And they have a game starting on Monday with the Chicago Cubs. Now, I don't know if you noticed it or not, but the Cubs have been playing good teams well, including the freaking Padres. So maybe, just maybe, you do something like, hey, we're on a chance to get through this, sweep the Rockies, give the bullpen a day off, have a good sense of ourselves, and then be rested and ready when the Cubs show up. And yeah, it meant throwing 110 pitches from Michael King, but now everyone's ready to go. Everyone's ready to go. And there's a couple interesting things here. Now, if you don't follow Sarah Langs, what the hell's the matter with you? But the Padres did not allow a run to the Rockies the whole series. 3 shutouts, 3 games, 3 shutouts. That's what a championship team does to a team that's not very good. And look, obviously, the Padres are off to a great start. They could nosedive. We all know that. Hell, we saw the Mariners take, a 9-10 game lead in the division, and then they did an absolute faceplant. We know it's April. They're having a phenomenal April. The A's had a couple of phenomenal months last year. But this is a team that we knew was good. And this is a team that we knew was this close to eliminating Los Angeles last year in the postseason. And they probably would have won the pennant. But there's a point, Sarah Langs, if you don't follow Sarah Langs on either Twitter or Blue Sky or Instagram, what the hell are you doing? Point out that I'm just quoting her right here, there are 33 instances of a team shutting out its opponents for an entire series of 3 games or more since 1901. Since 1901, it's happened 33 times, and it hasn't happened since Cleveland shut out the Kansas City Royals for an entire series in 2017. 2017 was the last time this happened. 3 years before freaking COVID was the last time that this happened. And so with that, and another thing to point out, and again, getting this from Sarah Langs, who's also on MLB.com, the Padres haven't lost at home yet. They are 10-0 at home. And it's the first time, this is according to MLB.com, they're the 6th team in the wild card era to start the season 10-0 at home. And some of the other teams there include the 2023 Rays, the 2009 Dodgers, the 2003 Royals, the 2020 Yankees, and the 2015 Mets. And the only one of those teams that did not make the postseason were the 2003 Royals. Everyone else made it to the postseason that year. This is a good team. This is a good team that is winning. They're winning games. And when you consider the absolutely torrid pace the Dodgers started the season, and like, oh my God, they won their first 8 games. They're unstoppable. They acquired more players. Oh my God, it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. Well, since they're 8-0, since that moment, The Dodgers have lost 6 out of their next 9 games. They are no longer in first place. They are no longer in second place. They are in third place right now. And do you know who's breathing down their necks? 1 game back in the loss column? Arizona. Now, of course, most teams, 11-6, would be first place in the NL Central, first place in the NL East, first place in the AL West, first place in the AL Central, and first place in the AL East. They would be the first place team. They are a victim of geography. But geography is real. It's not a conspiracy. And coming out of the gate, as hot as they were, they said, oh, we had a little bump. You can't afford to have many bumps in the National League West, especially if Arizona is starting to get its footing. They've won their last couple of games against Milwaukee, are starting to dust themselves off and say, hey, we want to get in on this. When we come back, we're going to talk about the fact that San Francisco and how they're playing is right now something that all Giant fans should be saying, hey, look at that. That was pretty cool. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. I'm going to say Luka. He's going to get more than 28 points, and my boy Jason Tatum is going to get more than 8 rebounds. And what I love is how easy it is to set up your lineup in about 60 seconds or even less. Prize Picks even runs cool promos like Taco Tuesday, where they discount player projections up to 25% for even more value. And payouts are fast, safe, and secure. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Now, he didn't own baseball because, Crow Armstrong was so great for Los Angeles. But let's hear it for Jung-Hoon Lee, who basically turned Yankee Stadium into his own playground. He got the big, huge home run in the rain-soaked opener. And today, in a come-from-behind victory, the Giants were down 3-0, and a couple of home runs by Lee later, the Giants had the lead. And, of course, the game ended with Aaron Judge taking a called third strike. Now, there's one thing that should alarm Yankee fans just a tiny bit, and that is last year they got a really good year out of Rodon. And this year, he pitched well through 5. He wound up letting 2 home runs, and he pitched into the 6th, let up 4 runs. It's not great. It's not horrific, but the fact that his ERA is 5.48. I don't care about win-loss record. That doesn't tell you anything. But a 5.48 ERA is not great. Now, yes, it's early in the season and things can turn around, but the Yankees are going to need him to be a solid pitcher in the rotation. The Yankees dropped 2 out of 3 to the Giants. And the Yankees have fallen out of, the Blue Jays are on top right now. But let's hear it for the Giants. Lee is right now has an OPS over 1,000. Yastrzemski has an OPS in the 900s. And, Flores has gotten a bunch of big hits. And Adames, even though he's not hitting much right now, is doing exactly what you need him to do. And Webb is pitching well. And the Giants, for the first time in a while, feel like a fun, exciting team and are at least getting out of the gate with a nice 11-4 record and are looking like they're a team that is at least going to try to get out of the gate fast. Jung-Hoon Lee is leading the National League with 8 doubles. I know we're not supposed to look at RBIs right now, but Wilmer Flores has leading the league with 19 runs batted in. I know we're not supposed to look at win-loss records, but Robbie Ray has pitched well in all 3 of his games. The fact that he's 3-0 doesn't tell me as much. The fact that his ERA is low, and he's pitching more than 5 innings a game, which is great because he's been injured the last bunch of years. This is what you want. The bullpen. Walker has been great as a closer. Randy Rodriguez hasn't let up a run yet. Tyler Rogers hasn't let up a run yet. Hayden Birdsong hasn't let up a run yet. Or did Birdsong let up a run today? I can't remember. No, and Rogers did let up a run. Yes, Rogers let up a run today. But still, their bullpen has been solid. They've been getting decent pitching, and they're holding their own at this point of the year. Another team that you got to look at right now, and we talked about them a little bit not too long ago, was the fact that the Cincinnati Reds were losing all of those 1-0 games. 1-0 game here, 1-0 game there. And then the 3-2 loss there, and it was really frustrating. But the thing that was the undercurrent there, that if a hit here or there, those would have been victories. But the thing that should make Reds fans a little bit happier is the fact that if they were losses, it was better that they're losing 1-0 than 10-9. Why? Because it means they're getting decent pitching. And now the Reds have been on a little bit of an upswing. Now, granted, they're playing Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh stinks. But Hunter Green has been tremendous. And Hunter Green was a victim of a couple of those one of the 1-0 loss and some other agonizing games. Well, he's continuing to pitch great. And the last game, he came within one pitch of throwing a complete game shutout. And he followed up by throwing 7 innings and 8 strikeouts, 2 hits, 1 walk, and no runs. And with that, the Cincinnati Reds, they're back to 500, and they're playing in that division that's anybody's guess right now. And the nice thing is right here, right now, I think if you are a person who's following the National League Central, as of right now, the team whose starting rotation I would want is Cincinnati's. Hunter Green right now is pitching like an all-star. Nick Lodolo is pitching like an all-star. Brady Singer is pitching like an all-star. All of them are averaging, Hunter Green is nearly averaging 7 innings a start. Lodolo is averaging a little more than 6 innings a start. Brady Singer is almost at that point. So you're not when those 3 go on, you're not wearing the bullpen to the ground. And Emilio Pagan has pitched very well out of the bullpen. Graham Ashcraft has pitched well. They have a pretty deep pitching staff. And there's one thing that Terry Francona knows how to do, and we've seen him do it with Boston, and we've seen him do it with Cleveland, is that he knows how to handle a pitching staff. He knows what to do with a pitching staff. He knows what buttons to push with a pitching staff, especially when it comes to the big games. Now, the Pirates were not a good team, and the Reds smacked them around. A big game is, big test for them right now is going to be coming up when they play Seattle. Seattle has dusted themselves off, and Seattle has really good pitching. So you're going to have some really low-scoring games in Cincinnati between the Reds, who have won their last 3 games, and the Seattle Mariners, who have won their last 4 games. 2 teams that can pitch. So you're going to see some low-scoring games going on there in Cincinnati. Watch them all be 10-8. But we're going to see. Some of these teams are facing their first tests. And the first test of saying, hey, we went through a rough patch and we dusted ourselves off. Things are accentuated when they are, when it's early in the season. Remember when, Rafael Devers couldn't buy a hit and everyone was saying, oh my God, is he done? Is he gonna collapse? No, the answer to that is no. I mean, he was batting like 0 not too long ago. Now his OPS is up to 710, which isn't great, but it's a lot better than 0. So we're going to see. Some teams are starting to make their mark, especially teams that need to get out of the gate. And we'll get more on this later, but there is a Los Angeles team that is sitting in first place, lest we forget. But that's the Angels. The Angels are still in first, especially if the Rangers, lost. The Angels are up by half a game. They lost their first series of the year to Houston. But the Angels are going to start an important series with the Rangers. And if they want to put their thumbprint on the American League West race early, those are some big games coming up. So there you go. That's all we got going on today. Today's trivia question is this. We talked a lot about the San Diego Padres, but the question is this. Who was the first San Diego Padre to hit 40 home runs in a season? Not 50. Greg Vaughn was the first one to hit 50 home runs. Who was the first Padre to hit 40 home runs? Padres are not known for having a lot of great offensive players other than Tony Gwynn, but someone reached the 40 mark. Who was it? That's a trivia question. Thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen today. For your second listen, stay on this channel and check out the new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night right here on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Talking about the best team in baseball that plays in Southern California. That is not called the Los Angeles Dodgers because they're in third place. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.